Good afternoon. The time is now 1:35 p.m. and a quorum of the board is present. The State Board of Education special meeting of April 22nd, 2019 is called to order. Come on in. Next on our agenda is an interview with, and let me know if I'm mispronouncing this, Jeanice Swift. Please have a seat.
Your water. Okay, thank you.
And welcome.
Thank you.
Actually, you weren't here earlier, so why don't we go around very quickly and introduce the state board members. I'm Cassandra Albridge. I'm the president of the State Board of Education.
Beautiful.
And I am Pamela Pugh, Vice President of the State Board of Education.
And I'm Michelle Fecteau, Secretary.
My name is Nikki Snyder. I'm a legislative committee member.
Tiffany Tilley, NASB Rep and Legislative Committee Member.
Judy Pritchett, Legislative Committee Member.
Hi, and I'm Lupe Ramos Montini, and I'm the chair of the Legislative Committee.
Thank you.
Tom McMillan, Treasurer.
And we've met. I'm Marilyn Schneider, State Board Executive.
Okay, so we have about 90 minutes. We have 24 questions that we'll go around and ask. There might be a couple follow-ups throughout. And periodically, I'll let you know how you're doing on your time so you can get the answers in that you want, but do it in the time that you need to. And so why don't we just start by, if you want to take 3 to 5 minutes and just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in being the state superintendent.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you? I'm sorry you're in this room today. It's beautiful outside.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can get out there before too long. I am Jeanice Swift, and my story is really about 4 words, and that is, I'm an educator. And that life as an educator has really taken about 3 chapters. The first is that I was a school classroom teacher for 13 years, taught 6th through 12th grade English and Spanish, middle school and high school, both in Texas and Colorado. Secondly, I moved into school leadership and worked about 8 years in those roles. Was very briefly a teacher instructional coach, then moved to the assistant principalship, and then was a principal of a middle school. So about 8 years there. And then this chapter has been one of district leadership. So I was first an executive director of K-12 schools. So I had 20 schools to oversee the day-to-day operations of, and that was in Colorado Springs School District 11, the urban district in Colorado Springs. Following that, I was the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction, all of the part of the house that works on the critical mission of teaching and learning. And then most recently, I've had the tremendous opportunity to serve as the superintendent of schools in Ann Arbor Public Schools. And that has been this previous 6 years that we're finishing now. I'm going to go on into the reason I'm here today. Is that right? Okay, good. The reason I'm here today is I see, as I believe you all do, a tremendous opportunity right now in the state of Michigan to really prioritize P-12 education and to improve the work we're doing for children across the state. This is a very important time. I think it is clear to you all who do the work, but deserves being stated that our outcomes are not what we want right now in the state of Michigan for student achievement. And when we think about that, 1.5 million students across the state, 90% of our children in Michigan attend a public school every day. When we think about that, the outcomes are a little bit alarming. Right now, fewer than half of 3rd graders are able to be proficient in 3rd grade reading. 2/3 of Latino students and our students from poverty are not proficient readers, not reading at grade level. And 80% of African American 3rd graders in the state of Michigan are behind their targets for ELA. These are incriminating outcomes. And we know, and I appreciate your service in the cause, we know that we can do better. We can do better together. We can do better for children. So we see the importance now of uniting. I'm so delighted and grateful that the governor has set out as one of our two really landmark initiatives to prioritize education and to do something about this issue. And I know that this is a time that we can make a difference. We've seen other states come from behind and get to a better place. And I know that we can also accomplish that in Michigan. When we think about two out of 3 children who crossed our school doors this morning came to us from a home impacted by poverty. Those children and all our children are counting on us to get this right. Their futures will be written on our pages, our leadership pages, and I take that obligation and that calling very seriously. So that's why I'm here today and grateful for the opportunity to get to talk about this work.
What is the purpose of public education?
I think of public education as the promise we make. It's the promise we make to parents. If you think about a parent who drives up to the school every day and entrusts us with their most precious children, it's the promise we make to children. It's the commitment that we have as communities and neighborhoods that we can do better for our children, hopefully better for our children than we did ourselves. Isn't that what every parent wants? When we think about the purpose of education, public education, I see it as the cornerstone of our democracy, little d. Doesn't matter where you are, on what side of the aisle. It's our great crossroads in this country for children to come together, to learn together, and to create community together. So that's what I see in the purpose. Thank you.
Oh, it's my turn. Sorry, still ready?
It's okay.
Okay.
During your first 90 days on the job, how might you go about determining the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the Michigan Department of Education, and what specific steps would you take?
Very good. Thank you. I included in your fold-over piece today just a very brief summary to give you some flavor of what I would approach as an entry plan. The first thing I would tend to is really listening and learning from all of the stakeholders across the continuum, beginning with the department team internally to listen and learn where our strengths, where our weaknesses, where our opportunities, where are our threats. We would move then out to the stakeholder groups, and we all know those, but just to make sure, our teachers, our partners at MEA, our administrators, MASA, our parent groups, our business groups, our higher ed, junior college, philanthropic folks, listening and learning across the state, certainly getting into the local and intermediate school districts. The theory behind my action on an entry plan is no one knows better how well we're doing and where we have gaps than those who work with us every day and see exactly how we're doing. So that would be the first part. Another component I would use is a transition team. And that would be a cross-sector transition team for the state superintendent to sit together in advisement. Certainly, we know the board would be integral throughout the process in getting to know the board, building relationship with the board members, and yet having a cross-sector team that would kind of oversee and feedback and give feedback and progress reports on the transition, I believe would be most helpful. What is important to me also, in addition to an internal and across the state look, is I do believe there's something to be gained by studying states who have done the work to improve. And so we've had that habit throughout our career is if you have a gap and you know you want to improve in an area, find someone who's doing that really well and go see and learn and see what you can pick up. So those are kind of the 3 legs of a plan that I would see is a listen and learn approach a transition team, working with the board, of course, throughout. And then thirdly, looking beyond the state of Michigan to say, where are the best ideas and how can we pick those up that fit us and might yield the results that we need. Thank you.
I'm next as well, but I'm just still waiting.
No.
Okay. Describe your leadership style and success in a large, complex organization, and what do you consider to be your major strengths as a leader? Give examples.
My leadership style, I know this is Lansing, but I'm going to quote Bo Schembechler here, is the team, the team, the team. And it's old, but to me it's not tired, it's true. And that is anything I've ever accomplished, I've done so through a team that is connected and committed and holds each other accountable. And on that team, I work really hard to find the very best talent that we can find, make sure they're on that team, find out what their passions and interests and areas of growth are, and develop them. Not only develop them individually, but recognize and realize development as a team, because there are several levels that you work individually and on team to move the work forward. My leadership style is one, I believe, to tell the story of the progress that we're making. Because I feel like on a daily basis for all of us, the work is really hard. And you can forget sometimes in some moments what our purpose is. So the leader's job is to tell that story and connect daily activity to the overall purpose and to remind folks of that connection, why we're doing the work, and noting the progress that we're making. Certainly as a leader, we do on the team for each other, calling out when things aren't meeting the mark and helping each other to get there. So that's just a little bit of my leadership style. Thank you.
The Michigan Department of Education developed a top 10 in 10 plan. What are your thoughts on the plan? Are there any changes, additions, or deletions you would recommend for this plan?
Thank you. Well, every organization, every endeavor needs a roadmap, a playbook, a plan. And I was delighted with the top 10 in 10. I was around when that was developed, when it was rolled out. And it is a solid plan. And I'm very excited that we have a plan. The true indicator of the success of the first 3 years of that plan is that when you're out around the state, you hear that phrase, top 10 in 10. And I was talking on the previous question about the signs of success along the way. That's a sign of success when folks begin to use the language and refer to the top 10 in 10. So that's happening. I think that there are some brutal realities about our top 10 endeavor, and it just goes without saying, but I feel like I need to say it. It's hard to talk about being top 10 in 10 when we're currently in the 2018 Quality Counts national metric at 34th in state funding. So I think it is incumbent on the leader to call out those truths and those realities that if we truly want to be a top 10 in 10, we're going to need to invest in public K-12 education and to make those investments knowing that they will pay off for children. Part of what I would hope to do on a listen and learn tour of the state, the top 10 in 10 is finishing its third year. It's always time to see how's it going. How is it going? Where are the strengths of the plan? You see these questions in the Listen and Learn handout that I provided, but where are the strengths of the plan? What's going well with it? Where are opportunities to do better? What else might you add to this plan that you feel like might be missing? And then I always add that fourth question, what else do you want us to know about the plan? So I would be very interested to see. I'm a big believer in decision-making, critical thinking, decision-making processes. And so I do appreciate the discipline of a plan. I'm very interested in the key benchmarks in our progress along that plan. I love watching the progress, monitoring the progress. That is the work of the leader. So I'm interested in that. But those are some thoughts on the top 10 and 10. I'm just checking my time while we
Thank you.
do this.
You're good.
Okay. One of the most important tasks of the superintendent is advocating on behalf of the board the strategic plan for improving education with the executive office, the legislature, and educational interest groups. How would you describe your experience and approach in doing this successfully? And how would you manage situations where the legislature and the executive office are in conflict related to educational policies and their implementation?
Thank you. Well, I think that from my earliest days as a 7th grade teacher, through every position up to now, I've just had vast experience in bringing together a divergence of perspectives all along a wide continuum, and understanding how to bring together consensus to get to a coalition and to move the work forward. So for me, the fundamentals of that are not very fancy. You'll recognize these things, but it's through regular and consistent communication. It's through clarification when you determine that maybe folks aren't understanding. It's building those consistent relationships so that they are there when you need them. And for me, the building of relationship is often around calendar and making a structured commitment to time so that it's there consistently. And then when a conflict comes up, you don't have to rush off to try to build relationship. It's already in place. You can tap into it. That's been my experience. But at the point of a conflict, I'm not trying to minimize the difficulty of conflict. Leaders understand that life is conflict on many days. But that idea of communication, hearing to understand where the discrepancies might be, and working to correct understanding or communicate in such a way that folks can break through. A lot of that is reminding all of us of keeping children at the center, because I think we're more prone to get into conflict when we get off of that center of children. So really my whole method of operation is around communication. I say to my team all the time, shampoo, rinse, repeat. It's the same thing again and again of connecting, communicating, clarifying, tagging back to the central purpose of our work. So I don't mean to minimize that, but it's pretty essential how I work along those lines.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question is, how have you been able to build an effective working relationships with unions and other organized educational groups? What about the business community? And please give us specific examples.
Right. I'm so glad these questions were next to each other because they're really connected at their core. I have long-standing, solid and strong relationships in my 30-year career, and most recently in the 6 years in Ann Arbor. Those come through regular and consistent interactions. We're honest with each other. We are transparent about our work. There's no other agenda. It's all in the conversation. And over time, all of us come to respect and appreciate those relationships. If you think about the work of the superintendent, we travel and accomplish our work through other people. And we do that through the currency of relationship. So having a consistent structure where we're in conversation, where we stay in conversation on a regular basis, making sure that those critical folks have the cell phone number and reach out anytime they need to, because sometimes we resolve conflict in our regular ongoing structure, and sometimes we need to make a call. And so being on the other end of the line when that call comes in, got one last week from our AAEA folks, and I appreciated it, allows us to correct in real time on all of our issues. I would add that for business folk, I love to work with standing groups. So in the first several years of my superintendency, and I'm actually going to see them again here before the end of the year, I've worked with what I've called a Blue Ribbon Advisory Group. And those representatives are our city and community leaders, business leaders, nonprofit, higher ed, junior college. I've probably left somebody out. I'm trying to think. Our parent groups, so all of our parent group leaders are in there. I meet with them, and their assignment, they have 4 tasks to do when we meet. One is to hear our updates and understand the work of the district. Secondly, their job is to serve as a key and critical communicator out in the community, because these are all folks that have wide spheres of influence. Their third task is to press in on our work and help us make it stronger and better, because these folks know how to do that. They're from all sectors, and they know how to do that. And then their fourth task is to connect me to someone else I need to be connected with. So over the years, that group has, ebbed and flowed with different membership, and it has grown in areas where folks have said, you know what, I love that you're with our group, but you need to meet this other person and you need to be connected. So that's a little bit about the business connection as well as the connection with those standing groups. I didn't mention parent groups, but I do have, just like we do with our partners at the AAEA. I also have standing with our PTO groups, and with all of our, we have a district-wide Black Parent Support Group. They actually invite me when they would like for me to come, and our Arab American Parent Group. I have a variety of, we benefit from many parent groups in Ann Arbor. So that's a little bit about connecting and working with groups.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As State Superintendent of Public Education, how would you ensure accountability within the Michigan Department of Education? How would you judge your own effectiveness as a state superintendent? And please describe the internal accountability system you would put in place.
So this is the accountability within the department.
Right.
I'm going to refer back to a previous answer about building team. I think that is critical to internal accountability, is everyone being in partnership on a team. When I say being on a team, it isn't just the lighter levels of that, but it runs deep in the organization to ensure that we know each other well, that we are building on each other's strengths, that we are seeking to develop ourselves and each other professionally in this relationship, that we are partnering across teams on particular challenges or tasks that we have ahead of us. And so that would be characterized, I'll just give you a little bit of a flavor of how that might look. That might be characterized in an all-hands cabinet meeting where folks are working in partnership around particular goals of the organization. So, for example, on a 2015 bond endeavor that we had several leaders from among our team working through community decision groups, advisory groups, and so regularly reporting out that progress back to the home team, receiving input and feedback on how it's going, and making corrections and adjustments to improve. So I see that continuing over time along our goals and priorities in our work together. I also think in developing team and ensuring accountability inside our home team, getting that home team advantage, which you have when you build strong relationships on a team, ensuring that we're getting training together so that we have a shared language, a common language around improvement. And I know those of us who've been in the work for a while have received lots of training, so that might not just thrill people, but making sure that that training is targeted. An area that's very critical to my work is the critical thinking and decision-making processes. I have a particular style that we have used. There are many styles out there, but just ensuring that the team has common language, common processes that we can use together around our most significant goals and priorities. And then remaining in relationships so that we're checking in on our goals on a regular basis, measuring our outcomes, celebrating when it's great news, and having serious conversation together when the outcomes are not what we want. So it really is all about the team. Thank you.
Given the changing dynamics of public education, what do you see as the most critical issues facing the Michigan education system in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I believe I've got about 5 issues that I want to highlight. And these next 3 to 5 years, as I detailed at the beginning, I believe they're so critical for Michigan. We all understand the downturn beginning in 2008 and the challenges that this state and all states went through, but Michigan's was particularly difficult. We understand that. And yet we see right here today in 2019 an opportunity for improvement, an opportunity to make progress. I see right directly ahead of us this idea of equity, access, and opportunity for students as a key and critical indicator. 2 of every 3 students in the state of Michigan come to us from a home impacted by poverty. We really appreciate the work of the School Research Finance Collaborative. You're familiar with it. And Governor Whitmer's declaration of her proposed budget, where we've weighted funding. And we recognize that that's so important. It costs more to educate some students. And poverty is one of those challenges. So understanding that idea of equity and making sure that our systems in Michigan don't automatically disadvantage some students. And I know you believe in that. That's why you're here, and I think that's one challenge. Right there at the top of our list of challenges, though, I'm going to set out this attracting talent and retaining talent into our teaching force. I felt like I was called to be a teacher, and I was so proud to be a teacher the years I was in the classroom. On my best days as superintendent, I still hope I'm an educator, even though I don't get to be in the classroom all the time. And yet, we know that our teaching profession has sustained collateral damage in respect and in their feeling about the work. It's been a hard time across the country. It's not just Michigan. And so I really feel like restoring respect to the profession, and I know that's easy for me to just toss out in an interview, and yet it's a very deep and wide concept that we need to get at. But this idea of restoring respect, ensuring that we have the most talented folks choosing education. You've seen the data. We're now students are being advised against choosing education. We just got back from our recruitment stops at the universities and seeing the numbers of education recruits coming out of our higher ed institutions, the numbers are down. And we're not surprised by that. That's an outcome of the journey we've been on. But I guess I would set out ensuring that we have the best talent, that they are the most supported, that they are well compensated, and that they have fundamental respect that we can give and that our communities can give. You know, almost everyone out there loves their neighborhood school, And yet, we've gotten into a place where we're going to have to do catch up in terms of attracting and retaining talent. I would also set out as a major challenge headed at us is this idea, and I'm going to put two things together, but our serving the needs of our special education students in ways that cause them to achieve well. And so we're seeing in our district, and as I talk to leaders around the state and across the country, we see this everywhere. We've got to tighten and align our systems to serve special needs students. And then I'm going to touch on trauma-informed systems of care in our schools and in our districts and across our state. No one has escaped the vast increase in mental health and behavior concerns, and it crosses all zip codes, all areas, and we've got to get at that work. It isn't the schools to do that alone. It's our community, it's our infrastructure within the community, but I see that as a major challenge that we've got to get at. I had a fifth one, and I've left it off the list. It'll come back to me in a minute. Thank you.
What does an effective accountability system look like? If you were to design one from scratch, what elements would you include and what would you eliminate? How would the system hold schools and districts accountable for student achievement?
Thank you. Effective accountability is a two-way street. It's a partnership, and it's about relationship. And as we work along the lines of accountability, it's about high expectations. It's about achieving clarity on the goal, having well-defined metrics to measure our progress on the goal, celebrating when those things go well and we're getting the results we need for children, and bringing great attention together as a team when the outcomes are not what they should be. So I say all that to say there's no such thing as drive-by accountability, if you'll forgive that term. Accountability is about working in both directions to ensure. The second area I wanted to explore for a second is this idea of leading indicators as opposed to lagging indicators when you're developing an accountability system. I think that in education, it's not our fault. We were trained this way. We're really good at the lagging indicator, graduation rate, for example. But to avoid that idea of just navel-gazing autopsy data after the fact, I really love in accountability systems getting at what are the leading indicators. So when I am in conversation with my high school executive director right now, I'm looking at the 2022 graduation rate through the lens of what percentage of our ninth graders right now this year will finish the year with all their credits intact. Number one leading indicator, right? Number two, of those ninth graders who stumbled along the way this year and lost a credit, what percentage of that group is enrolled in summer to ensure they're going to get the credit by the end of the summer? And then among that group, what are we doing about students who've found it difficult to get to school during their ninth grade year? Because they can repeat classes till the cows come home, but if we haven't attended to root cause of attendance, we're not going to get better outcomes. So one of the things I want to talk about with accountability systems is really shifting our system work. It already is in some great pockets, but I don't think we are as a system really about leading on those indicators rather than, oops, we didn't get what we wanted on the outcome. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
So describe best practices in school turnaround, including the role of the State Department of Education.
Thank you. So we know the definition of turnaround is that kind of comprehensive, dramatic intervention designed to produce results within 2 years. And hopefully, if it's done well, prepare the school for a longer term improvement process so that the school is on a path that they can sustain, not just a one path piece. But that idea of the best practices in school turnaround, for me, cannot occur without three components. One is quality, tier one, everyday instruction, ensuring a quality teacher in front of every child for their everyday instruction. The second component is guaranteeing comprehensive interventions and additional support for any and every child that is off track in their development. And it's hard to say that you can get there on that in our current funding model. But saying that a child is not proficient, we're going to continue them in the regular curricula without an additional attention over here does not give us the turnaround that we want. So ensuring whether that's math or reading, ELA, that there is an additional treatment. If you think about a medical model, we can go to the doctor and say, I have this really bad problem, and him say, yeah, fine, just continue as you are, there would be some treatment. And so we've got to do that in our schools. The third area for turnaround I would point to is about culture and climate in the school and ensuring that we're creating a community of learners and that there is a warm welcome inside the front door for every child and every family that crosses that door every day. They say, culture eats strategy for lunch. That's the phrase. And I'm always make culture and climate, the community in the school, the third leg of comprehensive improvement. Because if folks don't feel welcome, if they don't feel connected in relationship, students and parents, we can't make progress. So those are the three components that I would see in school turnaround. And did I miss the second part of that?
Well, the role of the Department of Education.
Oh, the role of the department in that would be really about that partnership, that relationship, that guidance. And the department team, I think, does a great job really on two ends of it. One, ensuring that best practices out there are held up and we shine the light on them and say, oh, for those of you who need help in this area, looky here, here's a great example. And then, of course, on the other end is getting in for deep, intensive supports in areas where we don't see that improvement taking off and starting. Thank you.
Question number 12. 2 parts. If we were to talk to your greatest critic in your current position and or organization, what would their criticism be of you? And second, what would be their greatest compliment?
Okay. Thank you. Leaders in complex organizations, if they're doing their work, have no shortage of critics. So I feel particularly well prepared for this question. I'm not sure what they would say for sure, but I do know that I am my own worst critic. And when I hear critics, I listen for the nugget of truth which is generally inside every person's case that they make to us. And the nugget of truth that would compel me, that does compel me, is that we're not making enough progress. And that's just the truth. And it's a criticism that I carry close with me because so much needs to be done. We must show progress. There's a sense of urgency for children, and that's a criticism I carry, and one that you might hear that I would not disagree with. The compliment, I hope that folks would say that I care about children, and that that's the first and foremost thing on our mind, and that I'm supportive of staff. And anybody that knows me will say that I'm a hard worker. So if critics out there are saying I'm not a hard worker and I don't care about kids, that's your clue that they don't know. Because that's not the truth. So thank you.
How would you define the role of the state superintendent and the State Board of Education? What is your understanding of the relationship between the superintendent and the board?
Thank you. The roles and relationships are key. So I will offer this answer from the seat I currently sit in and look forward if the board helps me with that understanding, because I know that you understand roles and relationships much more clearly once you're in partnership with folks. But those roles, this group here oversees public education in the state of Michigan. You are according to the Constitution, the planning and coordinating body. That's your work. And the superintendent's responsibility then is to enact that vision of the board. I love the board superintendent relationship. My current board, I'm very close with the 7 of them. And we are partners. It is our shared vision, and I'm the worker bee that gets to go carry that vision forward. So I see those roles and responsibilities as very connected and yet very distinct. And within those roles, it's not dissimilar from being in a family. You all worked hard to be at this table, and yet you didn't all pick each other. You picked this role, and that's the same on every board. I love that about it, though, because in that group there are a variety of perspectives, and the variety in perspectives brings the strength to the work, so that it is strong, it is tested. I have a few values that I operate by consistently, and my board knows them, and I would hope to continue that. Number 1 is no surprises. No surprises. And sometimes that means a quick text when something's breaking in the news and there's not even a moment for an email. Understanding each other's strengths and what we bring to the table, remaining in constant and close communication, understanding that our success and our challenges and even failures on occasion, they're all connected together. So I love that about our partnership, and I respect that. And so my role is to support the work of the board, to ensure, I love getting to know, in Ann Arbor we call them trustees, but getting to know the members of the board, because what I'm listening for is what you want to accomplish for children. Because I want at the end of the day for you to feel like your service mattered, and that you were able to accomplish some of what you came here for. I very much respect that you give your time This is my 10th year in district leadership, and I know as you do that most average folks out there may not know what you do, may not appreciate, because they don't understand, may not appreciate the investment of time that you make and the sacrifices that you make to serve in this role. So I feel like as a superintendent, it's my job to hear the vision, both the broad vision that you publish in your top 10 and 10, but also your individual commitments and causes for children, and to make sure that we're making progress in those directions and that we have clarity around the progress we're making. So my goal there was roles and relationships. Thank you.
Just so you know, we're about halfway through with our time, and we're a
Okay.
little more than halfway through with our questions, so you're doing very well.
Yay. That was my goal. Thank you.
Number 14, as state superintendent, you will be responsible for a large budget. What are some principles you believe are key to building and, and managing a budget? And what do you foresee as your role in the state budgetary process?
Thank you. Building and managing a budget, I say in Ann Arbor, is a 365-day endeavor. We do that every day of the year. Someone has said a budget is a moral document, and I know that phrase bothers some people. I see folks commenting on that. Whether you believe it's a moral document or not, I think we can all agree that you can see an organization's values through the line, values and commitment, through the lines of the budget document. You can see it there. And so I think one of our fundamental priorities is to ensure that that budget is very tightly managed and directed toward students and toward the needs of students. A second principle I would hold to in budgeting is this idea of money matters. It matters for children. And so the idea that, and our governor has set it out in her proposal, of a weighted formula for funding, and the school finance research collaborative, and this is my second state in which to be involved in this work, and I love this work, but clarifying for everyone, what is the cost? And I say it this way, what is the investment to educate a child well, and to educate a child in the way that we would want for our own children? And what I appreciate about where we are in Michigan right now is we have some researched answers to that question. I think there's a lot more for us to do on that, but I'm proud of the progress that we've made. The third area or principle that I hold to in budgeting is debunking myths that are out there. And I consider myself a myth buster when it comes to budgeting myths. One of those is if you only manage your money just a little bit better, you could do a whole lot more for children. And certainly, I believe we need to be A+ budget managers, and we want to be. But the reality is, it does cost more to educate students. It costs more to educate particular students, students with special needs. And right now, one of our brutal realities in Ann Arbor, we haven't changed our number of students with IEPs, but the level of intensity of their needs has dramatically shifted over the previous decade. So guess what? We know that costs more. So I see as part of the superintendent's role, telling that story of why it costs more. I believe that most reasonable people understand that it costs more to educate students from poverty, that we need to do more to bring the playing field where it should be for all students. So those are some principles around budgeting. And then at the end of the day, I feel as a superintendent, I'm so responsible to ensure that every penny and every dollar is invested for children in the very best ways we know how. So I'm pretty militant about that. And and yet being smart about the way we invest money for children. Thank you.
Okay, number 15. How would you handle decisions that are unpopular with stakeholders but educationally necessary for the state education system to meet the needs of the children? Please cite actual examples.
So, any leader worth their salt is making unpopular decisions from time to time. It's just going to happen. It's a part of doing the work well. And I believe the fundamentals there are communication around those. When at all possible, collaborating on the process for the decision, communication of the rationale behind the decision. It doesn't mean it will help everyone agree. It doesn't necessarily. But it does help folks to understand how you got that answer. So showing your work of how you made the decision, how you got to the answer. Listening to the concerns that folks who don't agree with the decision have. And listening without interrupting, without prejudging, just listening. I find that for many, many people who don't agree with the decision, if you can truly hear that, it relieves some of the stress. I'm not saying it makes them agree, but it relieves the stress of, yes, they've been heard. And then continuing firmly and fairly with the decision. And what I've found is that over time, folks come to respect that decisions are made through critical thinking with a strong rationale around what's best for children, and that you will hear concerns and counters, with the decision. There was a second part of that I was about to go to, which, specific examples would be, one example that just is frequent, as you know, is about budget. Is when you have to make tough budgeting decisions, just making sure that folks understand, using a collaborative group to get to those decisions, if that is at all possible. Making sure the rationale is set out for the decision. Another specific example I've experienced is with assessment, and our parents who feel like their children should not be assessed in some areas that we're assessing. And again, hearing the concern, stating our rationale, continuing with our progress. We now have an assessment advisory group in the district that I'm just so pleased. We have parents from all along the continuum of assessment. They sit with us every month and we work through the process. So sometimes it's setting up an advisory that will hold that work, hold that conflict, and help to communicate around that. Thank you.
What's the most difficult decision you've had to make in the last 2 or 3 years, and what did you learn?
Difficult decisions are not unfamiliar, as we all know. And there have been, and yet in the scope of difficult decisions, there are some that are excruciating, if we're paying attention, and we are. And the one I would point to is the decision to close or reconfigure a school. And unfortunately, I've lived through that process a few times in my career. And I would just share, and I'm sure you all understand this, that even when you understand the rationale for the decision and you know what has to be done, it is still nevertheless an excruciating decision that impacts a community and leaves some scars if we're not careful. So, for example, when I arrived in Ann Arbor, we had 3 schools among our 32 campuses that were under 40% enrolled in the building. The district was in significant financial distress. You know what has to be done, and you have to figure out how to go about that. A lot of good lessons along the way. Number 1 is include folks in the process as you move along the path. During our process in Colorado Springs, which ultimately closed a comprehensive high school, it was a major year-long 18-month endeavor when it was all said and done. During that process, we had numerous community meetings all over the community. Every night after the meeting, we would come back, type up all the input and feedback, post it to the website so that it was transparent during all of these months, exactly what we were doing, getting to the decision. So including folks in the process, if at all possible. A second lesson I've learned in difficult decisions, if you can find a way, and we did in Ann Arbor and we did in Colorado Springs, if you can find a way, build something better while you're having to surgically cut something out or remove something. So find a way to do something better for children. And in both of those situations, we were able to. A third lesson I've learned is community grief and emotion and processing are important. So allow that to happen and don't resist that. Another lesson I would add to that is respecting the history that came before you. That's easy to look at in the case of a school, because schools have great history. But I've learned that in all situations, just respecting that history that came before, become a historian of your organization. So you know, if you truly understand history, then you often have much better insight into the present, the current. Thank you.
Discuss in detail efforts you have taken personally to raise sustained student achievement and the results, and what elements of these efforts should be present in the MDE Strategic Plan for Educational Improvement in the state.
So thank you for that question. I love this question. I think back to my days as a principal. I was a principal of a fairly large middle school, 850 students by our standards at any rate. And the demographics were changing in the school, and math achievement had become a huge issue in the school. And so we pulled together as a team. I always remember as a principal, I would beg my assistant superintendent, deputy superintendent at that time for FTE in order to provide interventions. And she would always say, you need to come and meet with me, and your meeting is at 5 o'clock on Friday. And I would say, okay. And I learned later why she did that, because she wanted to see if I was really serious about making a change. And so through a series of 5 o'clock Friday meetings, we got some FTE and some positions, and we ensured that every child in the school who was not yet proficient in math had an additional intervention. And we did that in a way where they did not give up all of their exploratories to do that, because, you know, there's this model where you can have an intervention, but you have to give up art to do it. That we didn't do that, but we got every single child into math intervention. We used not the same math that they were doing during math class, but we used kind of a gaming math program that was research-based. The kids really liked it, and so we did this over a period of about 2 years. The math achievement dramatically improved within 2 years. And we went on to win a National Schools to Watch award as a result of that intervention. So it was just a time where I could see up close. I didn't need a microscope. I was right there watching the kids, and I could see them gaining in their math achievement in ways that were very exciting. Another example that I would give, and I want to be clear, I've talked about setting out your brutal realities. I want to be clear that we have worked very hard in Ann Arbor, and one of the goals we've had is to reduce out-of-school suspensions. Because when you think back to leading indicators, you can't get student achievement when students are suspended out of school. And we understood that historically, students were being suspended, particularly students of color, students from poverty, and special needs students were being suspended at pretty high rates. And by that I mean in 2012, it was at middle school, 1 in 4 special needs students was suspended at some point during this school year. African Americans, it was 1 in 5. And so we knew we had an issue. We got at that work. The superintendent before me started the initiative, but I'm very proud that over 6 years, 7 years now of that work, we've sustained reductions. It's one thing to get the reduction, it's another thing to sustain it. And at high school, we are below half on every student group and overall in our rate of suspension out of school. And at middle school, we're reduced by 68% out of school suspensions. So that, now I want to be clear, we still have disparities and we still are attending to those. But those disparities have greatly narrowed, and all groups are down by half or more than half. So I love this idea of attending to an issue, making sure that you're getting at the work to see improved outcomes. Now, when we think about grad rate, I want to highlight that for a moment. We have one of our brutal realities, and we say you can't make productive progress unless you're willing to face the most brutal of your facts. And we have not made progress in graduation rates with African American students, with ELL students, and with special needs students. We have, it is consistent, it is not reduced, but we've not seen breakthrough. We have realized breakthrough in graduation rates for Hispanic students, 13% increase. In this past couple of years, after many years of focusing on it, we are seeing progress with students from poverty, a 4% increase this year. So we're starting to see that move. Now, one of the leading indicators on that is the 9th grade piece that I was chatting with you about. And so when we think about ensuring that students have those supports in 9th grade, 3 years ago, we designated 9th grade specific counselors and deans that would become close with the kids, watch them when they were starting to get off track, make sure we're putting in the supports. And of course, because we did that 3 years ago, we won't begin to see the results of that for another year or two. But I'm very proud of the progress on student achievement. And yet, back to your question earlier, Ms. Tilley, I hear in my own mind the criticism that we want more, and it needs to be more. Another area I would highlight before I leave that one is, I don't want to spoil my record, we're ahead of schedule, so I'll be quick. The early childhood enrollment, we set a goal 6 years ago now, to ensure that we were expanding access to early childhood. We know that that on-ramp of education, particularly for students who struggle, our most vulnerable students, is so key and critical. So 6 years ago, we had 2 Young Fives locations, a total of 30 students in 2 locations among our district. Today, we're above 400 students at every single K-5 location. Because it really bothered us that when we looked at where Young Fives was, in some situations, it was not in the places where it was most needed. And so we say to ourselves, we have to walk our talk. And so now it's in every single K-5 building and one of the two K-8s. And there's one more that I want to get. They don't have enough room, but we're going to figure it out because I want to get it in there too. So I hope I did okay on the strategies. Thank you.
So the next question is, what do you see as the relationship of the Department of Education with local school districts and intermediate school districts?
Thank you. It's about partnership and support and service, providing communication and guidance, helping folks achieve clarity when there's confusion about policy or practice or wherever, ensuring frequent communication. And I mentioned this earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. Shining the light on best practices out there. I'm a strong believer that the answer is in the room already. And often when we're struggling in a particular area, there's a school or a district that's doing that well. So shining the light on that, and then also rushing in like the SWAT team when there's intervention and intensive support needed. So that's how I see the relationship.
Okay. So the U.S. Department of Education has identified Michigan's special education program as needing intervention. The poor academic performance and low graduation rates. What steps would you take as state superintendent to improve special education? And we're also been asking an additional question. We've been getting feedback from parents and advocates and groups representing parents that the appeals process, the complaint appeals process is very troublesome, and there's some criticisms of how it works or doesn't work. So what would you do to improve that? So generally, what would you do to address the needs intervention, and then specifically on the appeals process?
Thank you. So we know that disability is a natural part of the human experience. We get that, and yet it does not in any way diminish a child's right and expectation to a full and robust education. The beauty of IDEA is that, particularly for younger students, intervention early in the right way that meets the need can produce dramatic progress for students. So there's good news inside of IDEA is that if interventions are strategic, they're delivered consistently, right at the child's issue, we can see, and you hear the stories, and I'm so proud of the stories in our district, we see students grow and learn and thrive and move successfully into the world. The counter, however, is also true, is that if that need exists and it doesn't receive treatment or intervention or consistent support, it can dramatically impact a child. And so we're very mindful of that. We are not overall in Michigan effectively serving special needs students. And I think that we have to do the work, and there's no criticism inside this. I just believe there's power in stating the facts. And we've got to look at how we may make our system more results-driven for children. Compliance is occurring. We know that is a priority also. But getting a focus on what students need and ensuring that it is consistently delivered, the resources and the supports is key and critical. My answer would be incomplete if I didn't touch on it needs to be funded properly so that no district person, no state person is having to make Sophie's choice. It needs to be funded properly. And we know the promise of IDEA many moons ago was 40% funding, and the highest they've achieved, to my knowledge, is I believe 16%. So when I say it must be funded, I'm not just calling it the state level. It's a federal issue, and I know a primary issue for NSBA to call out. So better identification, the earlier we can find our students and get them started. I was delighted to be out at one of our schools not long ago. It's one of our schools that runs about 90% free and reduced lunch. I was out on a Saturday when the parents were coming in to do their grocery shopping there at the school. There was food available. There were tax preparation folks available. It was just this great place. And to see a mom walking in with a child who was less than 10 days old, I can't remember how old the child was, but just a newborn. But she was bringing that child in because she already had concerns. And I was delighted to see one of our district folk there ready to make the appointment to get the child evaluated. So the earlier on we can get children identified, get the supports in place, ensuring that we have effective models of delivery so that we're being very efficient with the resources we've been given, using consistent research-based practices with students with special needs. I think that there may be an opportunity here, and I know the team is doing tremendous work on this. We get the urgency and the need, so none of what I'm saying is a criticism. But I guess I'm just wondering, who are the states that are doing this well, and what are they doing that we can learn from? And I'll share the example of our situation in Ann Arbor because we've been equally concerned about our special education delivery and the outcomes and the results. And so about 18 months ago, we started on an improvement process, had an outside full evaluation, surveys, focus groups with parents, with administrators, with teachers. That report, that 360 evaluation has gone on for many months, and we will be here in the next 3 weeks rolling out that report with the community. Not only the report of what we found, but we ask our partners, based on the gaps they saw in our system, go out and find other districts who do those things really well and document them in this report so we can go visit them and learn. So that's coming out in the next month. I'll be delighted to see what all we're going to do. It'll come also, though, with an action plan to ensure that we're not just receiving the report and receiving it, but we're receiving it along with an action plan, benchmarks, and how we're going to proceed. So thank you.
The appeals process?
The appeals process. You know, we understand that worry because I think it happens at the district level also. And so what we've talked about in part of my special ed, our special ed work over the previous 18 months has been meeting. I personally meet monthly with a representative group from our SPED team. So it's the head of every area, psychologists and social work and PT and OT and all the folks. It's a group of about 12 individuals. And one of the things we have worked on is communication when you're not getting the answers or the progress you need. Because what we found, and it came through in some of the surveys, is that folks maybe wouldn't get the answer they needed, but they didn't know where to go to to get an answer. So we've worked on general communication when you have a question that you're not getting an answer to. It's a different protocol. And then we've worked on 911 communications. Sometimes they'll email the superintendent and say, this just has to be done within the hour. It's like, okay, guys, I appreciate that email, but let's get a protocol and someone that you can call and get an answer and get work. So I do understand the concern of the wheels are going slowly. It doesn't feel like we're getting progress. And I think I don't have a magic solution. I'm not going to pretend that. But I think understanding how to communicate when you feel the ball's been dropped.
So we have 4 questions left. We have about 15 minutes.
Beautiful, thank you.
Question number 20 is, what experience have you had in working in a complex organization that serves a highly diverse population, including those with special needs, diverse socioeconomic and educational levels, culture, race, and ethnicity? Please explain in detail.
Thank you. My entire career has been in a setting that is widely diverse. I began teaching in Dallas-Fort Worth in a very diverse high school and then middle school. In my time in Colorado Springs, that district was much larger than Ann Arbor and much more at risk in terms of the level of free and reduced lunch. In Ann Arbor, we are just under 50% Caucasian, and so a little over 50% diversity in our district now. 1 in 4 of our students comes from a home impacted by poverty. 1 in 10 has special needs documented on an IEP. 160 languages spoken in the community. It is a diverse area, an international city. It also, we're very comfortable and very much understand that we have many schools that have intensive levels of poverty. And then we have a wide group of schools that are around 30% poverty. We have a number of those. And then we have a few schools that don't have as high of levels. So we not only understand diversity, but we also understand that process of rapidly evolving demographics. And I think that's, it has felt very much the way that we've existed over my time, and it's the setting in which I'm most comfortable. When I talk to parents about what they love about our district, they will often list diversity as their number one, that they really appreciate their children are in a diverse setting. So, thank you.
And if I could just add a question to that. In 2017, there was a report, and it showed that African-American children in Michigan were at the bottom for their education outcomes. And just wanting to know, what would you do to address that?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that question. We've grappled with that brutal fact and our own, I mentioned, with our graduation rate and with our SAT scores. We've had very serious conversation. We have a number of strategies in place. We are just in the next 6 weeks rolling out an updated, retooled equity plan that really gets at how to ensure that students of color are achieving and that our system is not creating additional barriers. So one example that I would share is that 4 years ago now, it was I can't remember, a holiday or some reason, I didn't have much staff. And I remember the assistant soup and I actually wrote the grant for this together over a weekend. And it's for equal opportunity schools, you may have heard. And I very rarely point to programs because I don't want that to be the focus. But this particular program is about identification of students who, by their data, should be and enrolled in IB, AP, or accelerated coursework, but are not. And so when we first, and it's a partnership, so we got that partnership. We've been working with them, continue to this day to work with them. And what they discovered in our data is that we had over 300 students, most of them either students of color, students from poverty, immigrant students, and some special needs students, whose data showed that they should be in one or more high-level courses, and indeed were not. So we've been on that path for the past 3 years with our comprehensive high schools, now working back into the middle schools, to ensure that our system is not perpetuating barriers for students. And so that's one example, and I'd be happy to share more. Thank you.
What do you consider to be your major strengths as a leader? What would you target for personal or professional improvement if you are hired for this position? And I want to amend that and ask that you include some experiences, some examples, because, you know, we really need a turnaround here in Michigan. So examples of how you've turned around things.
Thank you. I think my strength as a leader is that I'm wired for educational leadership. It's not something I get up and do. It's really who I am. And I believe I'm a connector of people and priorities, passionate about the cause for children, and a developer of organizations. Toyota Corporation has their research headquarters in our community, and we benefit from a number of partnerships with them. And through those partnerships, I've learned about this concept, which is one of the pillars in what they call the Toyota way. And it's this concept of go and see. And I value in my leadership that you can't solve problems sometimes without going to see them, to bear witness to them, to study them eyeball to eyeball, face to face. They tell me, I don't speak Japanese, but they tell me that the literal translation of this from the Japanese is get your boots on. And I love that idea of get your boots on, get out, see the problem, and attend to it. So a specific example that I would share of that is our reconfiguration of Northside Elementary. My first day in the district, and this was in August of 2013, Northside Elementary was on my list. I visited 10 schools that day, and Northside was on my list. And I still remember going to that school and recognizing how it seemed fairly empty. And come to find out, it was fairly empty. There were about 155 kids in a school designed for 500 students, and there were many reasons for that. So in the interest of time, I will shortcut to say that over the subsequent months, we worked together with the community, redesigned and reconfigured the school, reopened it as A2 STEAM at Northside. Today, A2 STEAM at Northside is 650 students. There are no seats in that school unless you live in the neighborhood. Real estate values have increased in that neighborhood because that school is so successful. And that was a school that was under consideration for closure the year before I came because of it not doing so well. So I hope, Ms. Chain, that hits the point, and then the example. Thank you.
And then what would you target for personal or professional
Thank you.
improvement?
Thank you. What I would hope to do, I mentioned earlier, first of all, work closely with the board and receive input and feedback on areas that you all would see, because you've been down this path and you know perhaps already some areas that you would suggest. But just coming in, I would want to look at states that are doing particularly well in some of our most key and critical areas. And not just go myself, but go and take some folks along to go and see exactly how they're doing it and how we might learn from that process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you discuss your experience in creating, implementing, and/or overseeing policies and procedures related to school and student safety?
Very good. On March the 5th of 2015, a citizen walked in with hundreds of other people to a concert at Pioneer High School. He walked into that concert openly carrying a weapon. And I will not share more of the details, but just summarize to say that that situation was very concerning to the students who were performing that night. And I was not at that concert that night, but just like superintendents do, I knew within a few minutes that something was up because my email box literally exploded. And on that night, for some reason, had it buzzing, so it was literally jumping around on the table. And so from that moment in March of 2015, our board decided, and the reason I want to be clear about the reason our board made this decision, the community spoke. We've never had more public commentary. We had to move our meetings from a school location to a hotel location to accommodate the crowds, and then eventually to a high school location to accommodate the crowds. Our community had never spoken more strongly on any issue ever, and it was, we don't feel that guns should be around our students. And so by April, the board had adopted 3 policies. They are companion policies that fit together, 5400, 5410, and 5420, and they're around a safe and disruption-free environment and a dangerous weapon and disruption-free environment. Those policies were challenged in the subsequent months. We were sued for them, and they were upheld in the Circuit Court, in the Court of Appeals, and in the Michigan Supreme Court. I say all of that to say that what we won on that, we felt, was a win for student safety. But we also felt that what we won was a priority of local control. Because what the policies established was that boards of education could choose to pass policies that fit their community. And we did not have that right prior to that time. So I'm very proud of that process. I'm very proud that many districts across Michigan have subsequently passed similar policies. So that's an example. Thank you.
Okay, and the last question is, what will public education be like in the future?
You know, if we had a crystal ball, I think it's going to be anytime, any place learning. And I don't mean to say that schools won't be important. I believe schools will be more important than ever. I believe that we're going to get better at technology to support differences in student learning needs. That's going to help us. Precision learning, the lines will be blurred across content areas. And I'm really excited to see students doing more authentic work in the classroom.
Well, you managed to end with about 2 to 3 minutes left.
I'll be
So this is your opportunity. If you have any final comments you want to make, or if you have any pressing questions you want to ask us, please feel free.
Thank you. I know that your time has been long, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to sit with you. And I want to thank you for the work that you do to support children across Michigan every day. I understand the sacrifices that board members make generally, and I appreciate them. We appreciate them. You're not often appreciated publicly, and yet this is a time where I want to take a moment to do that. I also want to thank. I'm so sorry. No worry. No worry. It's a beautiful comic moment. That's great. I also, no worry. I also want to thank our my colleagues who applied for this position. I believe it's a very big deal that folks put themselves out. It is a very hard thing to do when you're a sitting superintendent. And I just want to give a shout out to folks that came and gave their all. And it says a lot about Michigan that folks will step up for this job, and it says a lot about you and your leadership. I want to thank you for the opportunity today. I've said that. I want to wish you all the best in your selection. This is among, as you stated earlier, this is among the most important decisions that you make. And my wish for you is that you will feel settled and delighted and renewed in that decision. And so we all know that leadership matters. And to me, leadership matters for a particular time and place. And so I know that's your work, is figuring out the very best match for your work and for the children in Michigan. I don't take that lightly. And we just send you with the very best of wishes. Former President Barack Obama said it this way: we did not come to fear the future, we came to shape it. We did not come to fear the future, we came here to shape it. I believe that you're here to shape the future for Michigan's children, and I want to do that also, and I so appreciate the opportunity today. I don't want to burden you with questions unless you feel like there's something I need to ask at this point.
No.
You've had a long 2 days. I want to respect that.
Well, we want to thank you for putting your name in the hat and for coming and joining us this afternoon. So
Thank you so much. All right, take care.